the Bible has expanded my perspective above my earthly corporate successes to look at eternity and, keeping that in mind. So someday when I'm in front of him, I'm going to die. I'm going to die someday. I know you just lost your father a few months ago. I just, as you know, lost my wife recently.
Yes, sir.
Our mortality is a given. I don't care what kind of drug we take or what kind of technology comes into existence that extends my life by 100 years. What's going to happen at the end of that 100 years? I'm going to die.
You're right. You're right.
And so I'm going to meet my maker. I'm going to enter into eternity. And if all I was concerned with was earthly success, I'm going to get to the back of the line. The Bible says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Basically, if you've been after your own success your whole life, you're going to be considered the lowest of the low in heaven.
Right.
If you've been humble and served others and followed God's will as best you can and loved well and served other people, you're going to be lifted up. It's an opposite hierarchy that we see in the world. And so the answer, I think, to looking at these high profile successes and seeing how successful they are in spite of themselves is that it is short-lived. And it is
I mean, I would agree. I would. It's I spent a lifetime victimizing people, stealing money. And, these days I don't do that. I was on the Lex Friedman show, and I said on that for me, the most important right now in my life, the most important thing for me is to know who I am and to know who I am and why I do the things I do, but also to help and not hurt. And I'm getting there. I really feel like I'm getting there. The difference is I just don't have that faith yet to cross over on that bridge. And I really, part of me knows, I think it's going to come. I just don't know when, and it's something I struggle with a lot, Tom, a whole lot,
seek the Lord while he may be found is a verse that sticks out to me. While today is called today, and while we have the chance, because things can go bad pretty quickly, worse than they are, or God forbid, we could pass away ourselves, right? I mean, I think we're the same age. I'm 54, and my mortality is in front of me all the time.
Right.
At this age, in my gray hair, in my losing my hair.
At least you've got hair.
And my sleep issues. So if you or anybody listening to this want to believe and you can't, it's like, okay, God hears all prayers. Ask him to take you the rest of the way. Lord, give me the faith that I need to fully believe in you. That's a very simple prayer that God would love to answer. And I would just challenge you or anybody.
I'll take that challenge. I will. I'll take that. I don't know what else to say, Tom. I don't. I mean, I've asked you about the leadership. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that, I look at today's society and, you were talking, we mentioned the humility, the ego. I see today's society as a society of individuals who largely only think of themselves and not their fellow human beings. Do you think that we're ever going to get past that and back to, because I look at parts of our history where we have been looking out for each other, where we've been taking care of our fellow human beings. And I just don't see that these days. And do you think that we get back to that point where we can, as a whole, do that?
An ideal dream and vision. But I think the reality hits us in the face when we, if we think that back in history we were better, all we have to do is look at Rome.
Well, that's true.
It had some of the things going on in our culture right now were even more so in Rome. They were greedy, over-sexualized. All the gender things going on in our culture were happening there.
Right.
Everything that we're dealing with in our culture was on steroids back then, a couple thousand years ago. And I think, if we think back to like the 1950s in the United States, Beaver Cleaver, or even my own childhood, your own child, I was allowed to walk to school.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I rode my bike.
We didn't have to worry about stuff then. Right.
Yeah. I rode my bike in the neighborhood. And, my mom would ring a bell. She didn't know where I was, but that's when dinner was ready,
Right.
And so, it's tempting to think that we were a better people once because of those memories and that point in history, but then we keep going back, we see human nature hasn't changed.
Right.
But when a country is so self-focused and allows every single vice or every single belief to have equal platform prominence, we just look to Rome to see what happens.